How did ancient humans survive extreme heat? It is a summer afternoon, somewhere around 50,000 years ago. The temperature is, let's just say it's the kind of hot where the air itself feels like it's judging you. This is Ugg. Ugg has no air conditioning. Ugg has no ceiling fan. Ugg has no refrigerator, no ice cube tray, no cold shower, and absolutely no iced coffee with 3 pumps of vanilla. What Ugg has is a rock, some dirt, a small amount of fur he is deeply regretting wearing, and a body that is currently trying to leave without him. And here's the wild part. Ugg survived. His family survived. His whole species survived, through heat waves, through droughts, through summers that would make a modern city shut down its public transportation and issue 3 separate emergency warnings. So how did they do it? Because ancient humans didn't have technology. What they had instead was tricks. Weird ones, gross ones. Some of them so clever that we still use them today and don't even realize it. Today, we're going to walk through every single one. From the sleeping schedule that basically turned our ancestors into vampires, to the reason wearing more clothing in the desert is actually smarter, to the one biological superpower that makes humans the best long-distance heat athletes on the entire planet. Let's get into it. How bad was it, actually? First, let's set the scene properly, because I think we underestimate this. When we say it was hot, we're not talking about a nice beach day. In many of the places early humans lived, East Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, parts of Australia, the American Southwest, surface temperatures in open sun could climb past 60 degrees Celsius. That's 140 Fahrenheit. On the ground, on the rock, on the dirt your bare feet are standing on. The air temperature itself might have been 45 degrees Celsius, around 113 Fahrenheit. For reference, at those temperatures, a modern human with no water, no shade, and no shirt has a survival window measured in hours. Not days, hours. And Ugg isn't just sitting there. Ugg has chores. Ugg needs to find food. Ugg needs to find water. Ugg needs to not be eaten by something with more teeth than him. So the challenge wasn't be comfortable. The challenge was do a full day of physical labor in an oven without dying. And the very first solution our ancestors landed on was so simple that it's almost insulting. They just didn't go outside. Part 2. The Vampire Schedule. Here is the single biggest trick, and it's the one modern people have almost completely abandoned. Ancient humans flipped their day upside down. If the sun is trying to kill you between roughly 10 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon, the obvious answer is, don't be awake for that part. Do your hunting, your gathering, your walking, your carrying, early morning, late evening, and in bright moonlight. We actually still have the fossil of this behavior in human culture. It's called the siesta. Across the hot regions of the world, Spain, Greece, North Africa, the Middle East, Mexico, Southeast Asia, the traditional daily rhythm is work, rest through the worst heat, then work again. That is not laziness. That is a survival algorithm passed down for tens of thousands of years and eventually written into the culture. And it goes further than napping. A lot of early human activity shifted fully into the night. Nighttime hunting has real advantages. Cooler air means less water lost through sweat. Prey animals come out to feed and drink after dark, and you're not radiating your own body heat into an already hot environment. The trade-off, of course, is that the night is full of things that also hunt at night, and most of them can see better than you. So ancient humans didn't go fully nocturnal. They went crepuscular, a great word that just means active at dawn and dusk. Best of both. Enough light to see, not enough sun to cook. Part 3. The Art of Shade. Okay, so you're avoiding the sun. Where exactly are you avoiding it? Because shade sounds simple, but not all shade is created equal, and ancient humans became genuine experts at reading a landscape for it. Tier 1. The cave. The gold standard. Rock is thick and slow to heat up, so deep inside a cave, the temperature stays remarkably stable, sometimes 20 degrees cooler than outside air, and it barely changes between day and night. If you have ever walked into a cave or a stone cellar on a hot day and felt that wall of cool air, you have felt exactly what our ancestors were chasing. Tier 2. The rock overhang. Not a full cave, but a lip of stone sticking out from a cliff face. Cheaper real estate, still excellent. Bonus, you can see who's coming. Tier 3. The tree. Specifically, a big, broad, dense one. And here's the detail people miss. Trees don't just block sun. They actively cool the air around them because they're constantly releasing water vapor through their leaves. That's evaporative cooling, and it means the air under a big tree is genuinely cooler, not just shadier. Tier 4, and this is the one I love, the hole. If there is no cave, no cliff, and no tree, you dig. Just 20 or 30 centimeters below the surface, soil temperature drops dramatically because the sun only heats the very top layer. Scoop out a shallow trench, lie in it, and you're pressed against something that is meaningfully cooler than the air. Desert animals figured this out long before we did. Lizards do it. Rodents do it. Ground squirrels do it constantly. Part 4. The human's superpower, sweat. Alright, now we get to the good part. Because everything so far has been about avoiding heat. But ancient humans also had a piece of equipment that let them walk straight into it, and it's built into your body right now. You are one of the sweatiest animals on planet Earth. And that is a compliment. Here's why it matters. Most mammals cool down by panting, which is fine but limited. You can only move so much air through your mouth. Humans went a completely different direction. We have somewhere between 2 and 5 million sweat glands spread across almost our entire body. And we lost most of our fur so that sweat can actually evaporate off bare skin. And evaporation is the key word. Sweat sitting on your skin does nothing. Sweat turning into vapor pulls heat out of your body with it. That's the entire mechanism. Which means humans can do something almost no other large animal can. Keep moving in full heat for hours. This is the idea behind what researchers call persistence hunting. You don't outrun the animal, you can't. Almost anything with 4 legs beats you in a sprint. What you do is refuse to stop. The animal sprints, overheats, has to rest to cool down. You keep walking. It sprints again, overheats faster. You keep walking. Eventually, it physically cannot cool itself anymore. Groups in hot, open environments have used variations of this strategy into modern times. It's been documented among hunters in the Kalahari and in parts of northern Mexico, usually in the hottest part of the day, precisely because the heat is the weapon. Think about that for a second. The heat that was trying to kill Ugg all afternoon. He learned to use it as a tool. There's a catch, though, and it's a big one. Sweating this much means you leak water constantly. In extreme heat, a working human can lose 1 to 2 liters of water per hour. Which brings us to the real bottleneck of surviving heat. It was never the temperature. It was the water. Part 5. The water problem. You can survive weeks without food. In extreme heat, you might have a single day without water. So finding it wasn't a chore. It was the entire job. And ancient humans got very good at it. Here's some of the playbook. Follow the animals. Birds, especially, concentrate near water in the morning and evening. Animal tracks converge on it. If you can read tracks, and early humans could read tracks the way we read street signs, the landscape is basically covered in arrows pointing at water. Read the plants. Certain trees and reeds only grow where there's groundwater close to the surface. A patch of unusually green vegetation in dry country is a sign, not a coincidence. Dig in the dry riverbed. This one is beautiful. A river that looks completely dry on the surface is often still flowing underneath the sand. Dig a hole at the outside bend, where water moves slowest and sits deepest, and it can seep in and fill your pit. Collect the dew. In deserts, the temperature drops hard at night, and moisture condenses on rocks and leaves before dawn. Wipe it up with a bundle of grass or a piece of hide. Wring it out. Repeat. It's slow and tedious and produces a genuinely pathetic amount of water, and if it's the difference between dying and not dying, you do it every single morning. Get water from food. Melons, tubers, roots, cactus flesh, and animal blood and stomach contents all carry water. Some desert-adapted plants store an impressive amount, and people who lived alongside them knew exactly which ones and exactly when to dig. And once you find water, you have a new problem: carrying it. This is why water containers are such a big deal in human history. Hollowed gourds, ostrich eggshells with a small drilled hole and a grass plug, animal stomachs and bladders sewn shut, and later, clay pots. An ostrich eggshell holds about a litre and is basically a naturally occurring canteen. Some groups in southern Africa filled dozens of them and buried them at known spots across the landscape, a distributed network of water caches, so a traveller always knew where the next drink was. That is not a small idea. That's infrastructure. Built by people with no writing, no metal, and no maps, just memory and a very strong motivation not to die. Part 6. Why more sea loathes is smarter. Now, here's the part that feels wrong until you understand it. Your instinct in extreme heat is to take clothes off. And in humid heat, sure, that helps. Bare skin lets sweat evaporate. But in dry, blazing desert sun, covering up is usually the better move. 2 reasons. First, direct sunlight on bare skin dumps radiant heat straight into you, and it burns you, and a sunburned human is a human whose body is now spending energy on damage control instead of staying cool. A loose covering blocks that. Second, and this is the clever part, loose fabric traps a thin layer of air between the cloth and your skin. Your sweat evaporates into that pocket, cooling the air right next to you, and the cloth keeps that cooled air from being blown away instantly. You're wearing a tiny personal climate. This is exactly why traditional desert clothing across North Africa and the Middle East is loose, layered, and covers most of the body. It's not modesty overriding comfort. It's the most effective portable cooling system available without electricity. Head covering matters most of all, because your brain is the part of you that tolerates overheating the least. Keeping direct sun off the top of your head and the back of your neck is the single highest value move you can make with a piece of cloth. Heat adaptation and the bodies we have. There's one more layer to this, and it's slower than any trick or tool. Bodies themselves adapted. Populations living in hot, open environments for many generations tend toward tall, lean builds with long limbs. The reason is simple geometry. A long, narrow body has more surface area relative to its volume, which means more skin to shed heat from. Populations from cold regions trend the opposite way, shorter, stockier, conserving heat. And your body adapts within your own lifetime too. It's called heat acclimatization, and it takes about 1 to 2 weeks of regular heat exposure. Your body learns to start sweating sooner, to sweat more, and, this is the underrated part, to put less salt in your sweat so you don't lose electrolytes as fast. Anyone who has traveled somewhere hot and felt awful for the first few days and then suddenly fine has experienced this personally. Ugh just lived it permanently. And then, sitting on top of all the biology, is the thing that actually made the difference. Knowing stuff. Where the water is, which season the riverbed still runs, which plant means groundwater, which hours will kill you, which root has shade, where the eggshells are buried. None of that is in your genes. All of it has to be taught, remembered, and passed down. Ugg survived the heat mostly because somebody older than him already had, and told him how. So let's put it all together. Ancient humans survived extreme heat by flipping their schedule to dawn, dusk, and night. By treating shade as a resource and knowing exactly where to find it, caves, overhangs, dense trees, or a hole they dug themselves. By using the most effective full-body cooling system in the animal kingdom, which is sweat, and paying for it with a relentless daily search for water. By carrying that water in gourds and eggshells and burying caches across the landscape. By covering up instead of stripping down. By having bodies shaped over generations for the climate, and by passing down knowledge that no single person could have figured out alone. No technology, just observation, memory, patience, and a truly heroic tolerance for being uncomfortable. Of course, then the sun went down, and a completely different problem started. If you want to know how these same people handled freezing nights, that video's right there. And next time your air conditioning breaks for one afternoon and you feel like your life is over, just remember Ugg, lying face down in the dirt, dragging his own soul back into his body, and getting up to go find water anyway. See you in the next one.